European soccer, or as people from the outside the U.S. around the world call it football, is a worldwide sport that everyone enjoys. It doesn't matter what country you come from, what language you speak. It brings everyone together. Everyone who is a soccer fan or a football fan knows that the best football quality out there is European football. Although European football is considered the best, it also has its flaws, with one of those flaws being that over the recent years, racial abuse towards our players of color have become a big problem. The Union of European Football and FIFA should implement harder punishments to fans in stadiums to help end racism towards our players of color in European soccer. From watching soccer games, reading ESPN on on their websites, their articles, it's no doubt that racial abuse towards our players of color have been big. For example, a player called Romelu Lukaku, in an article written in the Sun.co.uk on September 2nd of 2019, written by Sam Morgan, Lukaku said that many players last month have suffered from racial abuse. I did yesterday too. Football is a game meant to be enjoyed by the fans and us as players who are playing it. We shouldn't accept any form of discrimination or racial abuse, and it's sad that we see it today here in the 21st century. Today, I will be talking about the problems racism European soccer is facing, the inherency of the problem, and what we can do to solve the predicament. Now that I have introduced my topic, now I will talk about the problem. European football has had their incidents before of racial abuse, but over the recent years, like I said before, it's only gotten worse. For example, in a sports article on a website called bbc.com on July 24th, 2019, written by Royce Wood, English football and reports of racism rose about 43% from 192 to 274 last season. Many players have also reported the problem and took it upon themselves to go on social media and bring awareness to this problem, or as right here in an interview from Bleacher Report on April 22nd, 2019 by Tom Sunderland, a player called Sterling, stated, seems crazy that in 2019 that there is still racism in the stands by the fans today. And it's most likely surprising that the board and the board leaders and in charge of the game have done little to nothing to help protect us players of color to do anything. Now that I have talked about the problem, next I will talk about the inherency of it. According to an online written on a website called sfnation.com on October 30th, 2019 by Graham McGarry, UEFA, at least in theory, has fined, for example, Bulgaria with a $75,000 euro fine against the Bulgarian national team for saying racial slurs against players of color to the English national team. And according to the Liberator.com in February 18, 2020, by Max Donnell, he says that although they have implemented a 3-step process by FIFA, which is if there is a report of anything racial against the players of color, they are the referees to stop the game. And after that, if it continues, the ref will stop the game and send its players to the locker room. And if still after that they still continue, the refs will cancel the game and end the game at where it's at and kick everybody out. The some with the despite there being protocols meant to end racial behavior in stadiums, to many players it still isn't enough, because players want to be protected and be in a safe environment in the stadiums they are playing in. Now that I have talked about the inherency of the problem, next let me talk about a possible solution. There are some solutions FIFA and UEFA have already tried to implement, kind of, and to go in specific detail, according to a written document in the website independent.co.uk on October 16, 2019, written by Alex Paul, it says that FIFA's president Gianni Infantino has proposed a more effective way to enforce these laws that FIFA and UEFA have already implemented, which is besides giving them a fine, but a bigger fine to the clubs responsible and to those fans who are making those racial slurs. The efficiency of this is that there will be no fans, and there will be lifelong bans to those fans, and ultimately ending up players playing in a stadium, in an empty stadium. Now that I have proposed the solution, let me conclude. Today I talked about and explained how racism in European soccer is, and how the problem has become bigger over the years, and the inherency of the problem, and what we can do to solve the predicament. UEFA and FIFA should implement harder punishments to those stadiums and the fans in the stadiums to help racism towards our players of color and to make European soccer safer. We should together we should make an environment safe for both players and fans, without any racial slurs and anything that would offend our players of color. Thank you.